Candyman, 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 Candyman. Nah. Right then, hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you happen to be. My name is Paul, I'm also called Knick-Knack. I'm the brains behind Knick-Knack's Daily Teasers, which is a set of hopefully fun and enjoyable daily brain teaser quiz. I am not doing one of those in this video. If you've been following me for a while, either my blog, Knick-Knack's Old Peculiar, or my YouTube channel, Mr. Cuddy2977, or indeed my occasionally beeping phone, you'll realise that I watch TV shows that catch my eye. I'm currently watching Lovecraft Country, the first and so far only series of Lovecraft Country. I also occasionally watch films, and that's something I've posted about again on the blog and on my YouTube channel. Last night was the 17th of September 2021, and as I'm sure you possibly realised, it saw the video on demand release of Candyman. I thought I should watch it, and I thought I should tell you about it, which is what this video is all about. I've seen Candyman, directed by Nia DaCosta and produced by Jordan Peele, and I thought you might want to know what I thought. Candyman opens in the by now famous Cabrini Green area of Chicago in 1977 and shows us a boy named William, played as a youngster by Rodney L. Jones III, taking the family laundry to his tower block's communal laundry room. On the way there, he manages to encounter a sinister figure with a hook for a hand who offers him a hell of a lot of sweeties. Post-titles, we see Troy and his partner Grady, Nathan Stewart Jarrett and Carl Kaminsky head into a new apartment in the now gentrified Cabrini Green area, owned by Troy's sister Brianna and her partner Anthony McCoy. They're played by Tiona Paris and Yaha Abdul-Mateen II. When Troy and his partner get over to Brianna's and Anthony's, Troy decides to tell everybody a ghost story over a nice rosé and several candles. Tells the ghost story of Helen Lyle, who many years before had a psychotic episode after studying Cabrini Green's urban myths and had almost killed a baby by putting him into the area's annual bonfire. This gruesome little story and a meeting with an art dealer he works with inspires Anthony to go investigating around the now gentrified area to see what he can find. Anthony's wanderings take him to an old church that, in the original film, we'd recognised it as the vandalised church, and it also takes him to Cabrini Green's remaining row houses, terrace houses, and a laundromat run by the now grown-up William. William's got a tale to tell Anthony about Helen, about his childhood filled with the hook-handed Sherman Fields, and about Cabrini Green's other myth in residence, Candyman. Just in case. Having given you that little summary, I'm sure you're sitting there saying, Paul, what have you seen? What have you watched tonight? Have you seen a horror film? Have you seen great art? Have you seen a good film? A bad film? No, I haven't. I haven't seen a bad film at all. I've got to admit to staring at this screen when I was writing the original post, being absolutely unsure of how to hammer out a script to describe what I'd been seeing. It is not a bad film. It's a very, very good film indeed, Candyman. But there are several things to say. A, it's a good film. Secondly, I don't know if Candyman is great art. I watch videos. I talk to people about them on YouTube. I blog about them. I couldn't tell you if Candyman is great art. I really couldn't. I don't know. I'm not a film critic. I just burble happily. I will say it's a very well written piece. It's possibly Nia DaCosta, as far as I can understand it, this is only her second go at directing and co-writing this film. So I can't tell you if it's a stunning piece, but I can tell you I think it's as good as she's able to do. It's well written, and it's also one that acknowledges the original film Virginia Madsen crops up on tape as Helen Lyle. Some of her tapes or on notes that she's supposed to have made in the original film get read out. There's Tony Todd makes an appearance, as does Vanessa Williams, who plays Anthony's mother. And as I'm sure you've possibly realised, if you've already seen it, you will have realised that the Yahya Abdul-Mateen character is the baby from the original film that was kidnapped and put in a fire and rescued by Helen. So that's a nice little bit of continuity there. It's also a film that adds a little more to the Candyman universe, if you will. There's more than one Candyman, for a start, and new ones can be created as well. Tony Todd is there, Virginia Madsen is there. Some of the original cast lend themselves to the film and do very well. Tony Todd is the last thing you see in the film, which seems entirely appropriate, I should add. Something I don't mention with a film, usually, and I maybe should if I notice them. I did within Fabric, to give you an example. Something I don't usually mention much, but should maybe investigate more so my knowledge is improved, is the soundtrack and the sound design. Things like the horses going up gravelly paths and what have you. The little sound effects that the basic ones, a gun going off will have a sound effect artist somewhere firing a starter pistol and putting some echo on it. Little things like that are quite good. But one thing they have done is inevitably you've got the sound of bees. It's Candyman, of course. What did you expect? So the sound effects are good, but they've added things to it. In the original film, I should say, the Candyman usually gets a musical sting from Philip Glass, and there's usually graffiti everywhere, as well as the bees. In this version of the film, there's something else. We see shadows. We don't see as much graffiti, but we see shadows. We see hints of the hook. We see bees floating around. And something new and different is that in this film is laboured, heavy breathing coming from the approaching killer. There'll be breathing going off, and that's warning you something wicked is this way coming. The soundtrack is by a composer called Robert Aki Aubrey Lowe. And I've got to admit, he's new to me because, in part, I don't pay attention to these things, but also, well, it's one of those things I never pay attention to. But his name leapt out at me. I went and looked it up because the soundtrack for this is really quite good. It's on Spotify. Go look it up. It is really a very good soundtrack and something I felt was on a par with Philip Glass's original 1992 soundtrack. And from what I know, Philip Glass is generally considered to be a compositional heavyweight. He doesn't just do any old damn thing. He's Beethoven. He's a rock star amongst composers. So for somebody to come along in a new film based on something he'd worked on and do better, that is impressive. It is worth checking out Candyman for that soundtrack, I think. That and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II's generally very restrained performance. That kept me riveted to my chair for the entire hour and a half of Candyman's running time. Got to admit, I've said this before, and I'll probably say it again. I like short movies. The older I get, I don't want to be faffing around with a long film. So the film's length is pretty damn good. All of that, there's all that, and I think I need to possibly make a confession or two, getting towards the end of this little shindig. I have to, this is possibly going to sound terrible, it's not meant to be, it is me happily admitting my ignorance. I can't help but notice, and possibly this is either good or bad, but I could not help but notice that Candyman has a black majority cast. The main characters are all black, and it's got a lot of talented black people in key roles. Jordan Peele is the chap behind Guess How and Us, and he did a film a few years ago now called Keanu, believe it or not, about a cat. He's one. Nia DaCosta herself in what has to be only her second feature, I think, is directed very well. A beautifully done piece, I think. The composer, Robert Aki Audrey Lowe, again with some stunningly good music. So I think this is possibly proving a point, I think. This is me showing my ignorance and showing my lack of tact and possibly showing myself up in the process, but hey, there we go. One thing this take on Candyman tells me is that I've not seen that many films with a significant input from a person or people of colour. That, with the possible exception of Black Panther, that is much to my shame, I think. After all, Get Out and Us, Jordan Peele directed efforts there, have been around for a while, as has Spike Lee's entire bloody back catalogue, and I've never seen a Spike Lee movie. So in directing this, in making this, in getting the funding for this, Nia DaCosta reminds me that seeing films like this, with black majority input, is something I've only partly corrected by watching Candyman last night. I think if you're white and keen to learn, I don't know that you're seeing black American culture or black British culture on it, but you're being reminded that there are talented people out there that Hollywood or the film industry isn't using as much as it could be. There is a market to be sold to and talent to be used. There are things that happen that I, as a white guy, wouldn't be subject to. They go on, but I don't see them because it's dear old white privilege. There's a bit early on in the film where the character of William tells us how he starts screaming when Sherman Fields freaks him out and offers him sweets, and how this attracts the local white police. And he tells Anthony in this one scene, he says, "That's where I saw the true face of fear." He's not talking about the expression on Sherman's face when he sees William as a victim. I don't think he once was. But it's the look on Sherman's face when he hears approaching police officers. It's the face of fear. We see Anthony's work being displayed at an art exhibition, and realising with a certain amount of cynicism that a white art critic describes the area he's living in as being now getting occupied by artists because it's a cheap area to live in, and you can sort of see a cynical look on Anthony's face there, and of course realise what he does. It's like, yeah, artists. Plus, of course, there's the climax. I won't say more than that because I don't want to spoil the film for you. But it's a good one, but reminds us that racism exists. And just occasionally, you and me, as white people, we need to be prodded to be reminded that, yes, it's still there, however much things might have improved over the past few years, but it's still there, and it's still happening. So, whatever else, I think Candyman there's a message or two, of course there is. But we also have, in Candyman 2021, we have a superb piece of work, and it's something I think you, me, and anyone else needs to see. And once we've done that, in the words of the man himself, we should tell everyone. At any rate, I've been Paul, I've also been Nick Nack. This has been my review of the 2021 cut of Candyman. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you'd like to subscribe. I'd hope you'd like to leave me a comment and smash the like button as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming, and be careful with that mirror. That's a thought. How many times did I say Candyman?